Welcome back to Wisdom, Whiskey, and Wit, where leadership is distilled, wisdom is shared, and stories are worth saving. Today's episode is one I've been looking forward to because our guest is not just a leader and a fellow podcaster. He's someone I served along with in the United States Army. Damien Kirby has taken leadership from the front lines of Samara to the financial office of Coca-Cola. From military operations to strategic pricing, his story is built on grit, clarity, and intentional growth. Today, we're going to be sipping Bland's Single Barrel, a bourbon as smooth and precise and bold as the man himself. From convoy security to corporate strategists, this is what leadership looks like when it travels and transforms. Let's get into it. Hey, how's it going, Kirby? I believe I sent you a bottle of something before this podcast. Can you show us what it is?
Bland Single Barrel.
Single Barrel, that's some good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff, good stuff. Man. So as we get started on this journey, on this podcast, start with a little context. What do you tell people that you do?
I just tell people I'm an investor because that's really what I look at. Most of my time is being spent in the day. I mean, really like 95% of my time is stuck in investing. No matter if it's real estate, no matter if it's in business, no matter if it's in the stock market. That's where I spend most of my time mentoring and leading people in this economic environment right now. I spend most of the time. Do I have a regular 9-to-5 job? Yeah. But like I talk about on my podcast, I'm never a person to tell people to, hey, do this so you can quit your job. I always just want to give people an opportunity to have a choice to if they want to work or not, because they have other streams of avenue or streams of income that will take care of their family and their household without them having a job.
That's very good. So you have a 9-to-5 and then you also do investing and stuff like that. And in this age of people and the corporate structure letting people go, and so you always got to have a secondary source of income and stuff, and I find that very intriguing. And it wasn't always this way, the way it is now that you have it. If I remember correct, because we go back a little bit of time ago,
Right.
You used to follow a really, really terrible football team where you grew up, right? And so could you tell the fans out there where you grew up and how we came to meet?
All right. First off, my team is not terrible anymore. I see you over there drinking because of that, but they're not terrible anymore. But I am a Detroit Lions fan. I'm born and raised Detroit, Michigan. Yeah, and we go way back, like you said. Yeah, sorry, I root for the Lions, Pistons, Tigers, Michigan Wolverines. That's my team. But just going back, I grew up in Detroit. I didn't grow up in the worst of the worst. I wasn't in the Jeffries projects, but I was not in the Beverly Hills either. When I looked out my window, I still saw drug dealers on the corner. That's just what I did. I would just happen to be a guy that was in sports and football, so drug dealers wouldn't let me go stand on the corner with them. Now, it's other guys on my football team that was allowed to stand on the corner because I guess the drug dealers or the hood didn't think much of them. But every time I tried to go out there and be on the block, the drug dealers always told me to get my butt home. Sorry if I cuss on here. And that's really what it was. I just kept at it. And then I just stayed in sports. I'm not going to sit here. I don't want to talk about a rag to riches story, but my father wasn't around. My mom, single mother, and my father figures that I had was my football coaches. Literally took that as everybody that was a leader to me had a pseudo father figure image, because I took something from everybody from 8 years old, even in the military. Heck, even you. And I know people wondering like, him a father figure? But yeah, I mean, I took very good jewels from everybody that was a leader, and that's what I did. But I went on to play college football, Wayne State University, Wayne State Warriors, for all y'all people that's out there. But then I did something crazy. Life wasn't as hard as you hear a lot of these celebrities on TV talking about they was eating rice and beans all day. That wasn't me. But I did something stupid. I was, instead of going to class, I was around there, messing with girls, and I got a girl pregnant. And then so I had two choices. I could have stayed on my football scholarship and just said, hey, Mom, can you take care of this kid? But that's what I seen my whole life. My cousins, my uncles, my brothers or whatever, having kids and then passing them off to grandma to take care of them. And I said, my mom did her job. I'm 19 years old. She did her job. Now it's time for me to man up and have responsibilities. It wasn't my mom telling me, hey, you need to quit football and leave school. I made that choice on my own. I made the choice on my own so much that when I told my mom I was going to the military, she didn't even believe me. My mom didn't believe I was going to the military till I went to the hotel. You know how you go to the hotel the night before to go to basic training? I was leaving and I said, all right, mom, I'm out of here. And that's when she realized that I was going to the military, and that's what it was.
Yeah. So when you went there and you went to MAPS and you went through that whole process and they let you pick your job, what was going through your mind when you picked your career field?
I never forget it. And I know you're gonna tease me on this, but I never forget it. So football season just ended. So this is December 21. And I'm being a bum. My son's about to be born in April of 2002. And I'm sitting there watching TV. I'm a big fan of the A-Team, the old, not the movie, but the old TV show. And I always sit there and saw the A-Team, they always got away from the MPs. And then I was like, wait, the MPs, they chase fugitives? I want that job. That's just literally, I was like, I'm going to catch people like the A-Team that's escaping from the military. Of course, I'm totally ignorant from how the military works. But that's what I thought. I said, I want to be on the teams that catch the, fugitives that go AWOL from the military. And that's why I picked the job of being in military police.
That's not how it works.
Well, yeah. Now I know that. Now I know that.
All right.
Yeah, it was a rude awakening.
All right. So you go to basic training and AIT, right? And then did you go? Are you a McClellan baby or are you from Leonardwood?
I'm a Leonardwood.
Okay, you're a Leonardwood. I'm an old guy, so I came from McClellan.
Right.
So you came from there, and then where was your first duty station? Was Fort Hood your first duty station?
Fort Hood was my first duty station. I went to basic training in Leonardwood, and that's when I realized that I signed up for the wrong MOS when I went to Leonardwood, because the drill instructor told me, "Hey, I know all y'all thought y'all was gonna be sitting here writing tickets, but most of y'all going to line units that's gonna deploy and be in combat." I was like, "Combat? What the hell are you talking about?" And then that's when I faked like I knew what he was talking about, but I had no clue until. So I went from, I had to put on that, I'm from Detroit now. I had to play the hood role to act like I was ready for that life, but I wasn't ready for that life. I was a football guy.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing about the street, shoot 'em up, bang, bang, drive by. I didn't know nothing about
Yeah. And then, so you got done with that. When did you get to Hood?
I got to Hood in September of 2002. September 2.
So you didn't go to Cuba with them?
No. Right when y'all was coming back. That's when.
Did you?
Yep. Right when y'all was coming back.
Okay, so you showed up right after that. So you came in, and the unit had just deployed back from Cuba, and then you came in, and you ended up in the infamous, I believe, 4th Platoon.
Yep, sure did. 4th Platoon, Sergeant Blanche. Yeah, we got there.
Sergeant Blanche.
Yeah, Sergeant Blanche, he was, 6'7", and all the 250, 260. Looked scary as hell. But yeah, I mean,
it was.
I love Sergeant Blanche, but it was a step that I needed. I mean, at the time, everything is surprisingly in my life. Everything happened at the right time. Even when I, came to you, even with that situation. But everything was at the right time, and it hit me right when I needed it. So like me, I'm used to the football gridiron, just going at it. And then, coaches telling me what to do not to get in trouble as far as street life. But then when I get to the military and then I get there with, Sergeant Blanche, now he's telling me about real life, talking about being a man outside of, depending on scholarships, being a man, depending on, you got to take care of yourself and your kid, no matter if your kid is, 300-400 miles away. And that it was the perfect mentorship at the right time. Like a lot of my journey, it hit at the right time. And a lot of stuff I fall back on now, and we'll get into it later. But a lot of stuff that, even stuff that you said to me years, it's almost decades ago now, but I still fall back on it. I remember it, and it hits, and I'd be like, Starsky said this, bam, and I still use it still to this day.
Yeah. Blanche, I wasn't in his platoon, but he said some memorable things while I was there that no, it just ingrained a life in me, from a different perspective. He used to be our shift commander when we were in Camp X-Ray and stuff. And he would talk about, you got all these politics and everything going on, and you can't really worry about that stuff there. And he had a rule. He called it the 3 F's back there. It was it was profound. The three Fs, and it was very
Right.
much Sergeant Blanche, who became Sergeant Major Blanche. I'm sure he cleaned it up after he became a Sergeant Major. Maybe not. I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while,
Maybe.
but yeah, he was like, if you don't feed, fuck, or finance me, I don't care. So
Right.
you gotta
Absolutely.
fit into those categories. But so you went to Iraq, obviously on the ground invasion and stuff with us in Fourth Platoon, and you guys got to stay in what was known as Club Med, I believe. It was the Club Med of Iraq. It was Samara. Tell us a little bit about your adventure in Samara.
Well, you gotta back up like maybe about 3 steps. I mean, Sergeant Blanche, for
All right.
all the great he does, I mean, he put us in a spot there. But and this is the thing, and I could talk to you about it because you was there. Like the first, let's say, 6 weeks or so, we convoying up coming through Kuwait, and I mean, I know your platoon saw some action, other platoons saw some action. We didn't see nothing. Everybody was talking about the action they seen out there. We haven't seen nothing up until that point. And then, Sergeant Blanche with his warm and fuzzy personality, the commander and CEO said, "Hey, we love you so much. Why don't you go down there to Fourth ID and go to Samara?" And so that's the reason why we went. We get to Samara, and actually I thought it was going to be exactly like you said. I thought it was going to be they pawning us off to this unit just to be sitting some in a cushy spot where nothing's going to happen. And I can't lie, the first 3-4 weeks, that's exactly what happened. It was smooth sailing, nothing going on. We was in like a fish bowl, but we was at the bottom of the bowl. Like the actual CMOC was actually at the bottom of the city. Like people can come out of there like on their balconies and look, and then they can look down into the CMOC. But still, the first couple weeks that we was there, nothing happened. It was lovely. It was a lovely place, and I was like, all right, well. And I really thought I was like Starsky and his platoon, because I think by the end we already heard about the infamous grenade thing that I asked you about, and I'm like, he already didn't got his combat. He already got his combat in. I know Chris already got his combat in, and everybody they already got in the firefights and ticks. Ain't nothing gonna happen. That's literally what I thought. I was like, and that you remember when we was there, we was only still supposed to be there for 6 months at the time, and then they extended us mid tour. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so I was like, man, this tour gonna be over and we ain't gonna see nothing. That's exactly how I looked at it. But Samara was a different beast. After a while, Samara came a different beast.
Yeah. So what happened in Samara? What flipped the script there?
The flip, I still remember it, and the crazy part is on one of my videos, I believe I did a podcast about this. The news article is still out there on the internet. One day, guys out on patrol, and you know how it is: celebratory fire, wedding, funeral, celebratory fire, shooting the air. That's all we ever heard gunfire wise. And then on patrol, it's a wedding going on. In the corner, celebratory fire, the wedding party. You see the blue troops, see us, see the green, and then instead of shooting in the air, they pulled their guns down and shot back. And at that moment, well, after that moment, I realized something: we wasn't trained for Iraq. I mean, the people that haven't been to combat before, if you went to Afghanistan and then went to Iraq, you was trained for it. But the people that went to just straight Iraq and never had, because you remember, when we was back on the range, it was, hey, you gotta hold your weapon, take your magazine out. So it was very safe. It wasn't preparing you for the real action. And
Yeah.
so, of course, they shoot back at us, and then we return fire, and 4 little girls get unalived. And after that, now everybody's scrambling because we had no conflict in the city the whole time. And then, so come back, some other events happen. Somebody threw a grenade. After that happened, somebody threw a grenade in our power supply, so all the power was gone. A guy walked up to the CMOC and told us, he literally told us that, hey, we're going to, and he walked up to the front, did like this, pointed, and then did like this, and then walked away. But we went and got him, and us going to get him was the worst mistake ever, because we went and brought him in. He acted like he didn't know what the hell he was talking about. But when we walked him back out, that gave him the pace count to know exactly where to shoot the mortars from. That was the mistake that we made. But of course, Monday morning quarterbacking it now. And then so from then on, after the 4 little girls got unalive, and again, you can look it up online. I'm not, it's not it, but for the viewers out there, you can look it up online and hear about it. But then after that, We send a patrol out to go to the hospital to check on the little girls. And then we get there, it's people protesting, mad and upset. A guy told the squad leader to turn around and just go back home. It's unsafe for you here. They turn back around, come to the sea. They cut off the vehicles, and then we got mortar attacked. From then on, we got attacked every day for the next, let's say, 3.5 months before we got relief from 64th MP Company. That's what happened. And they gave it to us every day.
That's gonna be hard to deal with, man. No matter what.
Yeah.
Going, so
yeah, because that first attack,
especially when it's in.
Yeah, that first attack was, Vandalot. That was my man. That was my man in the tuck. That was my battle buddy for sure. And then, so when that first attack happened, and then Blanche he out the military now, so I can say a little bit more. He was mad. He was frustrated. He was like, just go shoot up the city. He was mad, right? But the thing was over the radio, they telling me, because they seen Vandalot, they told me he was unalive. He was gone. That's what they told me. So me, tears in my eyes, crying, like, that was my dude right there. And then of course it came over the radio later that he's good, but it was intense. That was the first time that I was like in the thick of things, like. And it's funny, I flashed back, like when we was going through it. Then after I was done, I was sitting there, I was like, wait, people in the hood go through this stuff all the time? Like, what the hell wrong with these people, right? Like I said, I was never about that street life. So, I mean, that's why I was just like, this is crazy. But I got familiar very fast.
No, I agree. And it's totally different between being in direct contact and indirect fire, because you just kind of hopeless. You're at the will of the stuff that's going on. So you guys got done with that. You guys moved forward, and then we finally finished that tour, right? We go back, and then we go back for our second tour, right? And that's really where you and me meet for the first time in the same. And we've talked about this before, that it just was an interesting time in our second tour when we were over.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it was an interesting time because, like I said, no matter if I was up doing good or down doing bad, I always came across the right people at the right time. And I left, being the commander's gunner, I believe, because Dale was the driver. I left being the commander's gunner to come to your squad, and I forgot what platoon it was. I think it was second platoon. I can't think of it. Second or first
second platoon. Yeah,
second platoon. Okay, yeah. And then I went to that platoon. The crazy thing was, I always thought you was crazy before actually being in a 1-on-1, me and you in the same platoon or whatever, getting to actually know you. You was just always, when I saw you in passing or anything like that, you were just always the rah-rah, yell at people, this bullshit guy. That's who you were. I was like, this guy is fucking crazy. The crazy part was, everybody in your platoon before, I would talk, how soldiers are. We always talking amongst each other. Wouldn't nobody say a bad word about you. I was like, maybe I'm tripping, or this guy might have something to him. And I believe you was coming. What school would you coming out of? Because you didn't come when we first got there. You came out of
I came out of BNOC. Yeah, I came out of BNOC and came late.
Yeah. So when you showed up, I was just sitting there looking like, wait, they put me in this crazy motherfucker platoon? Sorry. And then then we get in there, and then like the method behind the madness, it didn't take me weeks. It didn't take me months to understand. It was like instant. I was like, now I understand what all the soldiers before meant, because it was a method behind the madness, and you had some madness about you, but you remember we used to watch The Shield? You was the Big Mackey of The Shield. You know what I mean? That's who you were. See, you ain't think I remember that. I remember that.
I know. We used to watch that show all the time. No, I would agree. In my younger years, I probably was. I was very loud and obnoxious. But just like anything else that we talk about, leadership and stuff like that, you understand that method doesn't always work all the time for every people. And I think on my first episode, I talked about Sergeant Major Generali, where he broke it down for me. Like, you got to break the code to each soldier. And some are going to go with your type of leadership, and then others, you're going to have to finagle your leadership to them. But yeah, no. That was crazy. And then so we made it through that tour. All right. And then
Correct.
we came back, and then you made a life decision, I believe, to get out of the military because you didn't go for the third tour. You weren't about three Pete, just like the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, you go keep ragging these lions, huh? All right, so yeah, I did make a decision. I made the decision, and this is what it was. I know it's gonna sound crazy to a lot of people, or some civilians who never been in the military. They're gonna be like, "Oh no, I would have did that too." But I made the decision. Like me, I am all adrenaline. And just going back a little bit to the military aspect before we talk about getting out, I never liked main cantonment. It was like I was just twiddling my fingers. I didn't like law and order side of being an MP after Samara, and then especially after being out in the thick of things with you, I never wanted to come back to main cantonment. I never wanted the garrison environment again. So I always look for the next thrill, the next thing to do. And I mean, foolishly now, of course, now it's foolishly, I thought that I would be like the next Phil Lively, Daniel Negreanu. I thought I was going to gamble my way and be on the World Series of Poker and stuff like that. So that's literally what I thought. So when I came back after the second tour, that's when I started getting into the life of poker in the clean area and stuff like that. And I'm playing every night, maybe not Sunday. That's probably the only night I didn't. And I was playing the whole time through. And then I just thought that because I did not go on the third tour. I didn't go on the third tour, and even though they tried to stop loss me, I did not go on the third tour. And I thought that I was going to be the man that I was like, I thought I was going to be the next Phil Ivey. I really thought I was. But again, foolishly being young, dumb, that didn't happen. And it went very downhill for me after that when I decided to not go on the third tour.
So obviously you like to gamble. All right. So you were doing that in the Colleen area, and I'm guessing you were pretty successful at it in those small areas. What happened when you went to the bigger areas and tried to play more professional?
I went to try to play more professionally in San Antonio. And when I went there, I went higher stakes. And at this time, I'm out of the military. So my only income was gambling, was playing poker. And then I'm spending thousands of dollars a night gambling. I mean, it's a swing. I can either lose 2,000 or win 5 or 10,000. That's what the swings was every night. And that's what I was playing. But I had no other income. And I learned very fast after I left Colleen, I can only beat Colleen poker scene. I couldn't beat anybody else. And then so I would lose my money and my bankroll would go down to almost zero. And then I would have to drive back 2.5 hours, 3 hours to Colleen to build my bankroll back up to go back to San Antonio and try it again. I did that multiple times. I mean, I did that at least 20 times of doing that over the time from getting out of the military to doing that.
All right. And then so you did the gambling thing. Obviously you didn't make it. All right. We all have setbacks in our lives. And what was the next growth after that? After you figured out that that's not it, you didn't rejoin the military like a bunch of people do. They get out, they're like, I can't make it on the outside. So what was your
Well, interesting you say like most people do rejoin the military. So when we got out back then, you remember it still was IRR, and then you still had the chance to get called back in. But if you joined the National Guard or Reserve unit, especially after deploying, you would not have to deploy for the next 2.5 years or whatever, 2 3 years. So that's the route I took, just so they wouldn't call me back off IRR to go deploy again. So that's the route I took. But again, and even that fateful day on Fort Hood was when I say fateful day, the day that the major went and did those things at Fort Hood. I was actually driving to Killeen that day. I already lost my money again, and then I'm driving back to Fort Hood that day. And then my wife was calling me because I didn't know what was going on at Fort Hood. And then my wife was calling me and said something just happened at Fort Hood. And I was like, hey, well, I'm halfway here. I'm here. And then, but that was the last of the money that we had when I went down there because I was going to rebuild it back up again to try to go back and rinse repeat what I was doing again. But I get down there to Killeen and I proceed to lose the last bit of money I had. I mean, I lost it all. So now only thing I got is enough gas to get back to San Antonio. And that's it. And then so I drive back. I took the long way back to San Antonio, and and I listen to AM radio because I like sports. Even though I'm a Lions fan, I still like sports. But I take the long way back to San Antonio, and then only radio station I can get the whole way back. And me, I'm not a big divine intervention person. I mean, we could talk about mortar rounds coming down in the bed and all that, but I'm still not a divine intervention person. But when I'm driving back from Killeen to San Antonio, the only radio station that would work was an AM radio station talking about finance. And I'm listening to people talk about they're financially free and they're my age. I'm 26, 27 at the time. And I'm thinking it's like an infomercial, but that's the only radio station that worked from Killeen all the way to San Antonio. So I listened to it the whole way. And I said, there's no way that this stuff can actually work. And then I get to San Antonio and I'm still listening to it. And I said, I'll buy the book with my last $10. I'll buy the book and I'll proceed to try to follow what this guy doing. I done followed every other get rich quick scheme. So what's one more, right? And that's exactly what I did.
What was the name of the book?
Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. Yep. And that was a book that was a book that changed my life. That was the book that changed my life. I can't lie, and I'm gonna be 100% candid on your channel. When I'm driving, listening to it, I'm upset, of course, because I lost the money in Killeen, but I'm more mad at myself than anything else. So I'm driving mad. I'm listening to the people talk. Now, even as I'm listening to the radio, I understand he got a redneck draw to himself. So I know the guy is white, right? And my upbringing through, in Detroit, oh, the white man can never do nothing for me. The white man can never do nothing for me. So I'm listening to this, but I'm like, damn this, he didn't mention nothing about color this whole time he been talking. And then so that's what I spent my last $10 on. And if it was any more than $10, because it was on a Christmas special, I wouldn't have been able to afford it anyway. But I bought the book and I read it 3 times, and that's what changed my life.
Yeah, no, that's great that because I hear you talk about it on your podcast all the time. Mm-hmm. But it didn't magically happen. There was other things that happened along the way that before you had your financial freedom and stuff like that. You did, but I believe you worked for Dynacore or something. How did you get into contracting in Afghanistan?
Now that you say that, after the Dave Ramsey situation with the book, I read the book, and then the only thing that I can get was like literally $9 an hour job doing loss prevention for Burlington Coat Factory. I didn't get big leagues like you. I wasn't in the office. I was the dude at the door trying to act like I'm tall when I'm only 5'6". You know what I mean? That's who I was. I'm the dude chasing down the shoplifters. That's what I was doing. And then so I had to I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I literally thought about it. I was like, I went from being an MP to chasing around people on the south side of San Antonio, stealing off-brand shoes. I was like, this ain't it. So what happened is that National Guard unit that I was attached to, they was about to deploy. And I said, the only way I'm going to get out of debt, because, I mean, I've said it many times on my podcast, but I said it on yours also. By that time, I was already $250,000 in debt with little to no money. Yeah, with little to no money. I mean, like I was making $9.30 an hour, but at that time, gas prices was $4.50, and I lived on the north side of San Antonio, and the job was on the south side of San Antonio. But I was damn near working just to pay for gas. I wasn't really putting no debt in. So when that unit deployed, I said, hey, I got to volunteer. I was like, forget that waiver I got not to deploy. I just got to go and deploy. And that was like the real start of having some money coming in and me not being stupid, gambling, messing it off and stuff like that. So that was the first iteration of it. So I did that tour. But the crazy part, you know how deployments go. You know, you got the Haji shops, you got the AFs, you got all this stuff. I literally went to mission, went in my chew, and all the money that came in, I just threw it towards debt. I was paying off my car. I was paying off the credit cards. That was it. But during that time, I was learning about investing. Okay. And that's how I got into investing, because I said, I got to do something. And all the stuff that I knew from back on the block was selling drugs, saw people selling drugs. I wasn't out there, but selling drugs, doing all the crooked stuff. And I was like, I could do that, or I could find something else to do. And then I was like, well, what other groups, what do they do? And I just said to myself, the stock market. And then I just started this teaching myself the stock market and how investments work. That's how it worked for me. And then when you talk
All right.
about
So
dying core and all that, when we talk about dying core and all that, that is it was a captain that I seen there in Iraq who, after I got out of the National Guard, I already ETS out of the National Guard, and she had a connection, and then her and her operations sergeant, they found me like 3 or 4 months after I left the National Guard and asked me could I do this job because they didn't think nobody else could do it. So that's how I got the job.
yeah. So I remember us talking before about a story about when you went on this deployment to Afghanistan, right? And it in that you talked about your leadership development or becoming a leader for probably the first time that because you were forced, right? Like talk to me about that transition.
That was a transition, and I think you mean when I went to Iraq with the National Guard unit. So I was an
Yeah.
E5
Oh yeah.
National Guard unit. I thought I was going, and I was in Mosul, Iraq. I thought I was going to veg out. I was like, oh, I'm
Oh,
just going
that's
to
where.
hide in the creases. Yeah, I was going to hide in the creases, and they ain't going to even pay attention to me. But something crazy happened. We went to Fort McCoy in Sparta, Wisconsin. Now I'm trying to be a
Okay.
dirtbag. Yeah, I'm trying to be a dirtbag. It's an MP unit. And then they had this shoot house, and the shoot house was kind of high speed. You know, had the cameras and everything, but you had to go through all these training iterations and had to have a 100% on safety to go to the live shoot house. And then you know how it is. And then me, I got a male and a female on my team. The female, she was about 5'9", a little overweight. The male, he was scrawny. You know, he was only about like 5'3", about 105 pounds total. And you know how the bravado is, especially when you get out in the shoot range, shooting houses. Everybody talking about, you know, they work for SWAT, for SF. You know how that works. And then so everybody's going through the training. And it was funny at the end of it, to go to the live shoot house, the cadre said there's only one team out of this whole company that can go in the shoot house because there's only 3-man teams that can go at a time. And then everybody like, oh yeah, it got to be me. It's got to be me. And it was my team. But the thing that I learned in that iteration, just with my team, everybody else, like I said, I was trying to be a dirtbag. I just didn't want to be known for nothing. I just wanted to get there, pay off my debt, leave me the hell alone. But I remember something. I remember one thing that you said was always, even though nobody's watching, always try to do it no matter what's going on. You said that early on. You probably don't remember you said that to me. And it always hit. And you know, the drill sergeant said, you know, this what discipline is. But when you said it, I was like, okay. But then after that, we get to go to a live shoot house out of the whole company. And then the company commander or the first sergeant made the decision, like, oh, Kirby needs to be the squad leader. I'm like, what the hell? It ain't like active duty, you know, the platoon sergeant can, you know, first sergeant make that decision. But they made a decision, and I'm looking like, I'm trying to be a dirtbag. So I end up being the squad leader. But then again, something else you said that always resonated with me. And again, you probably don't remember you said it. This is I think we at Camp Cropper, and you said whenever you get to a new team, you get to a new squad, you get to a new platoon, or you become a leader, you always come on strong and then you back off. Because if you come in weak and then try to turn it on, they will never respect you. And I sit there and thought about that. After you said that in Camp Cropper, I thought about it and I was like, because I remember, you know, new team leaders coming in, they trying to act like they all buddies with the soldiers, and then they get mad and start yelling, then the soldiers look at them like they're crazy. And that's what I did. So of course, the whole training cycle getting up to Iraq, I was Starsky Smith Jr. You know what I mean? That's who I was. I came in yelling, screaming. I was at them. And all the soldiers, of course, they National Guard anyway, so they're very, no, we don't want to deploy with him. He crazy. But then as soon as we got deployed and got there, I huddled them up. I said, all right. And then I just took them through different scenarios. What you do. I was like, now y'all know what y'all do? That's it. I was like, I just need to know y'all know what to do in certain situations. But the guy in the training ground ain't the same guy. And then I started bagging off, and then everybody was like, oh man, I need to be in your squad. I was like, I know how Starsky tricked their ass, because you started off strong and then you backed off. But yeah, I stole it straight from you. That's what got me through Mosul, Iraq, because the base got bombed and everything, but you got me through there.
Yeah.
And we weren't even I mean, we didn't even, you was being super soldier at that time in the real army, and I was just over here, but that's what got me through. No lie. That's what got
That's cool. So you return back, right?
me.
So you come back and you've made your millions in the Army and the National Guard. Well, maybe you paid off your debt, but
That's it.
are you close? Are you close to being debt free at this point?
Well, no, well, close, because I paid off all the credit cards. I paid off the house. So the only, I mean, no, I paid off the credit cards and I paid off my car, credit cards and car. And then so the house was still hanging over my head because this is during a great financial crisis. House prices are dropping around the country, and then I'm just sitting there. So I got I want to say about 50,000 in debt left, and then so me and my wife decide, because we went from we was living in a 3,400 square foot house, and it was just me, her, and her cousin there. And then we said, hey, we gonna sell this, and then we're gonna move it to a 600 square foot apartment. So we sold the house subject to, I mean, I don't know if you know what subject to is, but subject to is giving it to somebody and they have the ability to pay my mortgage while still under my name. So that's how I sold it, via subject to. But it eliminated me from the debt. Now that person kept paying the mortgage for like 8-9 years after that. It wasn't like a quick turnaround of subject to, they paid it, took it out my name, but he kept paying the mortgage and then he had it rented to somebody else. And then I moved into the $600 a month apartment. I'm not gonna lie, the apartment had roaches in it too. But I was so determined to get out of debt. That's what it was. And that's what I needed to do, because after I came back from the National Guard and deployed, I didn't have another job. Yeah. So it was just, hey, let's get it how I live and then hurry up and make this happen. So we left and then went to an apartment. It was like a 600 square foot apartment. And then we made, so our mortgage payment went from $1,400 a month to $600 a month. So that gave us that leeway to start actually putting money towards investing right there. That's when it started.
Okay. So that's what started. You come back from the National Guard and then you could put the Army all together, right? Like I'm done with the Army. Mm-hmm. And then how was the job market when that hit?
Well, when I got back, the job market was still shaky because that was 2009. So I wasn't too far gone from it. So the job market was still super shaky. I didn't have much prospects out there. I went and applied to be a temp at the Toyota factory in San Antonio. That's the only job that was hiring, a temp. I was making about $16 an hour at the time, but it was $16 an hour, but with no debt. That's the only thing that saved me. And then my whole paycheck from Toyota, it all went to investing. That's what it was. It was just investing. And then
I know you talk about that a lot on your podcast.
Yeah, so that's when it was when I was eliminating debt, I wasn't looking at it as more money in my pocket, as more money to invest. So when I got the job, it was more money to invest. So with that, when I'm at Toyota, I'm sitting there, I'm acting like I'm a painter on the paint line at Toyota. I actually, that's how we was doing it. But yeah, so I'm on the paint line at Toyota, and I was giving everything I did, because the thing was with Toyota, you don't find out if you're working overtime until, the last 4 hours of the day. The last 4 hours of the day, then they tell you if you're working overtime. Whatever plans you got to cancel those because it's mandatory overtime. And then so what happened is I'm working, and then I can feel inside, because when you're in the paint shop, it's like 90% humidity, and then you got on this suit, so your butt cheeks chapped and all that. But you can have your phone on you, but you can never answer it on the assembly line. And then my pocket was vibrating, but I figured nobody was calling me. And then when I went on break, I answered the call, and that was DynCorp right there. And then it was
okay,
Beverly Bernanke. I'll never forget it. Beverly Bernanke. She left me a voicemail and said, "Hey Kirby, we looked at your file. Oh, we know Captain. I'm not gonna say her last name, but Captain S. And we looked at your file, and you're the person we want." And then they said, "Give us a call." I called them right back immediately. And then me, I'm less than 3 months on the job at Toyota, and then so I called her and she say, "Look, you got a chance to try out here for DynCorp. You got to ask for a leave of absence from your work." I'm a temp. They ain't giving me no damn leave of absence. So I'm like, look, I was like, they're not going to give me a leave of absence. I was like, it's just got to be, I'm all in or not. But again, I never liked garrison in the military. I always liked taking chances. So what I did was I said, I'm going for it. So I just told the guys at Toyota, and they was ready to hire me permanently and all that. So I would have went from, let's say, $16 an hour to like $23 an hour when I got hired permanently. And I said, no, I'm going to take this gamble. And I took the gamble, and I went to Virginia to try out for Dynacore. That, that's how the whole Dynacore experience happened. Just like that.
All right. So how was that experience at Dynacore? Just like not a lot of people have gone through that, I don't think. Everybody talks about getting out of the military and I'm going to go work for one of these, but not a lot of people do it. So what would you say? One, what was it like? And then two, what was the difference between being in the military and working contract for?
For what was it like? It was interesting because it was like 75 people showed up. 75 people showed up to, and I'll tell you the name. It was called the Crucible. It was called the Crucible. That was the training grounds for Dynacore. And then I show up and I'm sitting here looking like these guys. Of course, most people in the audience might not understand, but you know how it is when you get a whole bunch of dudes and guns and all that. Everybody worked for the Secret Service and everybody was a sniper for Special Forces, right? So that's how it was. Everybody worked for the sniper team for Dallas PD, the New York PD, or whatever. And so I get there and there's all these people, and I know I was the last one to turn in my security clearance and all that. So I'm figuring my best shot is I can get through this, and then they got to finish the security clearance, and then I will finally go later. And then so we get there, and they say, look, and this is like the opening briefing. Hey, you see we have 75 guys here. You will look up in a moment's notice, and the person sitting next to you will disappear. So we go through all kind of drills. We go classroom drills. We go through simulation drills. We go through shooting qualifications. We go through the whole nine, driving the whole nine. And then lo and behold, after 3 weeks there, it's only like 22 people. Just the rest of them just disappeared. And then now it's the day to say, hey, these people, security clearances came through. And these are the people that can leave tomorrow to go to Afghanistan. My wife showed up because she thought that I'm going home because I was the last one to turn in my security clearance paperwork, that it was gonna be some issues. So my wife show up, we hang out or whatever, and I'm telling my wife like, yeah, I made it through, graduated, cool, but I gotta wait for my security clearance to be done. And then she's sitting there waiting, and they said everybody getting on the bus tomorrow to get on the airport. First name Kirby. That was the first name on there. I was the first one in the win. I was like, what the hell? So I had to tell my wife, hey, it's good, we can see you tonight, but you got to go back because I'm taking off. And that's how it started off.
Wow. I'm guessing the pay was substantially better than what you were making at Toyota.
Yeah, it was significantly better, but of course you're putting your life on the line because it's. And when you're doing contracting at that level, it's every man for himself. You may have one partner. It was significantly better, but I don't want to, make the audience think that it's like, millions of dollars. No, it was $144,000. That's what it was. It was $144,000 with the first $100,000 tax free. That's it. I mean, I did it for way less in the military. So for me, that's a major jump. But it's not, it's not this, $500,000, $1 million a year. No, it wasn't. It was something that just get me to go where I'm going. And then, so that's really what it was. And then I get there and it's it's different. It's 100% different from the military. It's, military is a team aspect, but this stuff was a whole new being for me. I ain't seen nothing like it.
Yeah. What kind of missions did you do over there for?
Well, what I was doing was I was standing up police forces in remote areas. So what happened is, like, we get there, you get your equipment, yada, yada, yada. They give you a 10-digit grid. That's all they did. They give you a 10-digit grid, and then they'll drop you off at an air base, and then you say, you got to navigate your way to that grid. That's it. And then once you got there, and it's like, so where I was in Dayak in Ghazni Province. And I'm in Dayak, and then I get there. It's literally a truck and HESCO barriers and rock. That's it. A couple tents up, but that's all filled out. But that's all that was there. Yeah. And then so from there, we just we recruited police, we built up the police force, we trained police, we went out with police, raided homes, showed them how to do raids, show them how to do, pat down searches, the whole nine, and we went through the whole gamut. That's what I was doing.
So how long or how many tours did you do with Dynacore? How does that work?
Well, it works. Every contract is a year long. I did 3 years straight.
Okay. Oh damn, 3 years.
Yeah.
Did you ever come home?
Yeah, I came home, but it was funny. My wife, she was on she had another assignment. She was TDY for 3 years at the same time that I was with Dynacore. So it was like once a year, maybe twice a year sometimes, but that was it. It wasn't much. But I mean, I was good where I was at. It was just a lot of crap going on.
I gotcha. And so what were you doing financially and stuff back then with obviously you had paid off a lot of your debt and everything, and now you're getting this substantial paycheck. What were you doing with all of that?
100% of my paycheck went to investing. And when I say 100%, 100%. It was no, hey, here go. It wasn't no reaching out to my wife. Hey, here go $5 for the light. 100% of the money went to investing. And it's gonna be funny how it all comes in a full circle. So all my money going towards investing, and then Dynacore at the regional side, and what happened was I had a partner for a short period of time. Bob, if you out there, let me kick your ass for this. But I had a partner for a short period of time, and what happened was he told them that Kirby is over there in Dayak getting into firefights all the time. And they was like, we don't know about that. And he was like, yeah, because you don't ever tell me to put in reports. So they made me move to headquarters. But in Dayak, there was nothing to spend money on. But also all my money is investing. All my money. And you know how the Nipper net works. It's up some days, soldier get impacted, it's down or whatever. But every time it was up, I'm investing everything I have. And then so I get to Ghazni, and then they had more shops and stuff like the AFEs and stuff you could spend your money at. They had barber shops and all that crap. But I still wasn't want to change. I didn't want to change my philosophy of every dollar I make, I invest. So magically, it's contractors there that had a poker game. And I just happened to have a $400 in my wallet. And I'm not saying this to be arrogant, facetious, nothing. I literally took every dollar off the damn base playing poker. So I never spent $1 from contracting doing anything for 3 years. All my contracting money went towards investing. And like, the day-to-day going to the shop, picking up a Monster Energy or something like that, it was 100% from the poker games that I played every, I think it was like Tuesday and Sunday there in Gaza. That's about it.
That's crazy. So what were you investing in? You're saying you're sending all your money back. What were you investing it in back then?
I love that question. The thing that I was investing in, so I told you about the house in San Antonio where, we was way over our head. We didn't know what the hell we was doing. That was when they was doing heartbeat loans and stuff like that. So I remember the bank that gave me the loan, even though I couldn't afford it. I had a National Guard paycheck paying me $236 a month. And the bank, and that's all I showed them. The $236 a month National Guard paycheck. And Bank of America gave me a loan for a $132,000 house built from the ground up. I started investing in Bank of America. I started investing in Bank of America. That's what it is. I bought, I want to say 12,000 shares of Bank of America in 2010. And then I'm investing in Apple. I'm investing in like 2 or 3 other things. But Bank of America was the one because it's a story behind it. So the same company that gave me a loan when they shouldn't have gave me a loan, but I'm not blaming them. I was a dummy. I should have known better. I invested in them during the financial crisis when all the bank stocks was going down. And then so I bought a lot of shares of Bank of America at $492. And so in that time from 2011, when I bought this house, this house here was bought literally off the Bank of America shares. 100% cash Bank of America shares. So that's where I was putting it. I was putting it in Bank of America, I was putting it in Apple, and I was putting it into the index funds for retirement accounts. That's where I was putting every dollar.
Okay. And so that's what you're investing in then. And then you come back stateside and stuff. And so what are we doing? what do we do after that? We've sowed our royal oats and done the whole combat thing. We've done the contracting thing. Now what? Now what does Kirby do?
I put off something that most people can't do. I sat at home for 2 years. I mean, literally sat at home for 2 years. And what I mean by sat at home for 2 years, it was my wife. She had my son in that time, and my wife was in the Air Force at the time also. But I mean, only you will understand, because when I say my wife was in the Air Force, everybody gonna think that, oh, she had money. But she was at the time, she was an E5, E6. You know how much money was bringing in. All right. So I come here, and then I'm sitting at home. I'm sitting here trying to talk to people about finance. And the crazy part is everybody was saying, what degree you have? What degree you have? What degree you have? Now I just spent the last 4 years studying finance, and they said, what degree you have? I'm like, okay. And then so now I know my wife, she's pregnant with my son. And I said, all right, I'm just going to sit at home and I'm going to get a degree. Not for me, because I already understood the investment world. I got the degree to shut everybody else up. And I got the degree to just, and I'm not going to say, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. I care about what people think. That's it. I care about what people think. And now what they think didn't add another dollar to my paycheck, didn't add another dollar to the money I made, but I care what people think, even though that they don't even understand the landscape I'm in. But that's what I did. I sat at home. The day I started school was the day that my son was born. I'm literally sitting in the hospital. My son's born, and that's my first day of class. And with that, it was literally, and the thing is, at this time, I'm 32 years old. I'm like 32 years old. So I couldn't sit there and say, oh, I'm going to sit here for 4 years, 5 years to get a college degree. I couldn't do that. What I had to do was I said, I got to get this over as fast as possible. So I petitioned the school to give me a double load. And you know what flex courses is. So we had flex courses. I said, give me a double load. And then of course they was mad because they said freshmen can't get double loads. But I said, no, I can't sit here for 4.5 years to try to get this degree. I said, give me a double load, and then I'm going year round. I ended up getting a 4-year degree, of course, with military experience. Also, I got the 4-year degree in 18 months. I just put a foot to gas, and it was more so. And you know how the military works. And I knew my wife; she already got her bachelor's and master's while she was in. We had to pass off the GI Bill to him, so I couldn't sit here and tell him. And that's another thing you taught me. You can't sit here and tell somebody to do something that you ain't willing to do or something you ain't done. That was something else you taught me. So I couldn't tell my son, hey, you got to go to college, and I ain't got a degree. So that was my motivation to go get it. That's the reason why I went and go get it. But I had to get it over fast, because being at 30, I'm not about to sit here for four some years and be like, oh yeah, I'm just sitting here being a student. I couldn't do it.
No, I gotcha. And then so you finish your degree, and then by this time, have you already started your podcast, or have you not?
Nope.
You haven't started
no podcast at all.
Okay. Nope. No podcast yet. So then what's the next step? We've got our degree now. You've been talking about finance to everybody and their brother, and you got your degree to get rid of all the naysayers. What's the next step?
The next step in my journey was, everybody, and I mean, I could say the names, the names, but most of the people in the audience won't know the names. But, the Kazes, the Gosses of the world, they were like, man, you're going crazy. You're only hanging around with your kid and you're not hanging around with adults. So you need to hang around adults. And then Kaz told me, he was like, look, I know you don't need it, but you need to go find a job somewhere just to hang around adults and have an everyday conversation with adults. And then my inclination was, all right, I'll do it to appease him, because he a battle buddy, and I honestly look at people that I served with, you, Kaz, Blanche, a lot of people that was in full first. I look at them more as family than my actual family. And when he said that, I wasn't just going to dismiss it like, oh yeah, whatever. And then so when he said that, I just said, okay, we're going to make it happen, make it shake. And then so I said, I'm going to apply to a job, and then if they don't hire me, then I could tell them, hey, I applied, they didn't hire me. The first job I applied to, they hired me. I was like, damn it.
Ain't that your luck?
So Yeah. So they hired me, and then so I went on to do that, and then that's how I end up in corporate America. Period. I had no intentions of going to corporate America, but the place was cool. The place is, I mean, I can't complain. I've seen a lot of different things, and you talked about it earlier. In this is about automation and how the white collar worker. I'm not using your words verbatim, but how the white collar jobs are getting displaced by automation and stuff like that. But or different aspects is going on. That's the area that I work in. I mean, I know it's a pricing control. I haven't updated the LinkedIn or whatever in a long time, but that is the actual space that I work in. I always tell people, if you see me coming, it's a problem. Automation and everybody, and I'm saying this for your audience, not for just to have clickbait. The automation part, forget the automation. I mean, not automation, forget the AI. The automation is the thing that's gonna kill a lot of white collar jobs.
Yeah.
Let me say it again for the people in the back. Forget AI. Automation is gonna kill a lot of white collar jobs. That is the thing. I've been talking about automation literally 4 years ago, and everybody was looking at me like I was crazy because it wasn't talked about on the news. And Coca-Cola itself is not looked at as a IT high tech company, but they're way ahead of everybody else. We've been using automation back in 2019, 2018. We've been using macros and everything else to replace jobs way before that. That is the key element of it all. And people just don't understand. And I've been telling people that for years. Hey, look out for this, look out for this. And they didn't understand what it was. Now ports got automation. Now all these other things got automation. And I know we went off a little bit off topic, but I just wanted to point that out, that automation is the key element that's out there that's going to crush a lot of white collar jobs. AI, it sounds good, but automation is the thing that's going to crush a lot, especially on the white collar sector.
I got it. So you've been working for Coke for many, many years, working on the automation side of the business. What made you start your podcast?
That's a great question. It was because I was tired of having the same questions. Like, it's people think that they're unique in the world. And now you get into the wheelhouse that I know, but people think that they're unique in the world, meaning that their situation that they're in is unique, that nobody else has to deal with it. That's not the truth. Everybody asks me the same questions all the time, no matter if it's Starsky Smith, no matter if it's I'm just Braunbacher, no matter if it's Ringman, no matter if it's Merrill. I'm just throwing out old people in our platoon or our squad names for the people that don't know who these people are. But the thing is, the questions are the same. I got tired of repeating the same answers. That's literally what it was. I got tired of repeating the same answers, so I said, why don't I just have a platform to answer the questions of the things that people ask? And that's why I decided to do it. Because literally, like you work in, especially corporate America, and then they say, hey, how do I climb the corporate ladder? How do I climb the corporate ladder? How do I climb the corporate ladder? And then you think you answering, your answer's not going to change because you're going by a process. Hey, you start here and then you do this, and then you start here, do this, and then you say it so many times. All right, how about I just say it one time and then everybody can watch it? That's the reason why I started the podcast.
Nice. And what is the name of your podcast so all the viewers can know?
The name of the podcast is The Process Plan. So if you go into the search engine and go at The Process Plan, you'll see my ugly face, and then that's me. Once you see my ugly face, you're there. If you don't see my ugly face, you're not there.
No, I agree. There's always very, very good information on there. I really like it. I watch it. I try to get on your lives every time I get a chance. Mm-hmm. How do you think that the way you grew up in the military and all that really built you into what you are today?
Well, yeah, I'll say this. I am a contrarian. I am 100% a contrarian. What I mean by is what everybody's doing, I'm not doing. But the thing is, I say that, but everything I learned along my journey is the thing that shapes me. So, and I'll talk about them just going through it. The Bataan Death March. I never forget it. I still remember we was in Iraq, and then you was talking about it. And you was the one that was talking about it. And then you was like, hey, we got this. he was like, hey, we gonna do this, And the crazy part was you went to bat, and then you went to battalion and said, these are the guys I want. They said, no, everybody got to compete. But the same guys that you presented were the same guys who ended up on the team. So that's what it was for me. It was just like having that conviction. Those things, I'm not gonna lie, those things were the thing that shaped my life in a big, big way. And I'm on your channel. I told you this privately. You had a huge impact. I know you thought you were just a big guy hanging around, but you had a big impact on what I was doing and the stuff that I was doing. You did. My life today, and I'm being honest, my life today wouldn't be what it was without you. And I'm not saying it because I'm on his show, y'all. I'm just being honest. It wouldn't be without you.
No,
I'm being honest.
You brought up the Baton Death March, and it throws me to a flashback, and probably not one of my greatest moments as a leader. I don't know if you remember, it was about mile 22, 23. Skinny guys were yelling at you and me, and we were in the soft sand to hurry up.
Oh,
I was like, I gave them some devout wisdom. But that soft sand at mile like 22 and 23 was killing us bigger guys on the team. But we had a great time out there. We did really good. So that was awesome. I was laughing about that.
Yeah.
So you have all that, and then so besides the podcast, what else are you doing to help people with investing? Because it seems like there's a lot of people out there that just don't know what to do with their money. Like they can have these huge, I think I was listening to you the other day, the difference between rich, right, and being wealthy, right? And there's tons of rich people out there that are making tons in their hourly job, but they don't have that generational wealth. And I know you do some coaching on the side. What are you doing? How does somebody get in contact with you for that kind of stuff?
Well, I would say first go to the Process Plan at the Process Plan on YouTube. And then if you look in the description, they have many ways. You got Twitter, you got X, you got email addresses to get to. That's what I'd say. That's the way to get a hold of me. But the thing is it's the difference between rich and wealth, and I'm not going to go into a deep diatribe about it. The difference is, and most people don't understand this, everybody's searching for the paycheck. And I'm not against having a paycheck. That's not me. I'm not against working a corporate 9-to-5 job. That's never me. I just want you to have options. I don't want you to be 70 years old saying you still gotta go to work just to afford the light bill. That's literally who I am. I don't want you to be 70 years old sitting here saying, "Oh, I can't sit down because I still got a house note, car note, payments, and all that." It's way different avenues out there. It's the things that you see in the rich do that you don't understand. The Bezoses, the Zuckerbergs, the Larry Ellisons of the world. You don't understand. I'm here to help you understand. But the thing is, you don't need to make their money to replicate what they're doing, because the secret is they've been doing the same thing at the price range or the income range that you're at now. That's how they're able to sit there looking like one of the richest people in the world. Studying the tax code is the key to the whole gamut. And that's what I'm there to provide. But that's really the nuance of it all. It's not a secret, but it's a secret because it's against everything everybody's ever been taught. You work hard, you play hard. You work hard, you play hard. No, that's not it. That's not how you work hard, you put your money somewhere else, and then you play hard off of somebody else working to make you play hard. That's really the truth of it.
Yeah. So next question. What was your best investment you ever made?
Best investment was, and I know your wife is somewhere. She will agree with me. The best investment I ever made was my wife. The best investment I ever made was my wife. Now, did I get in trouble because I invested in his wife? Yeah. But that was the best investment I ever made in my life. But that's a
good one. That's good.
Yeah, but when I say that, I'm saying that in truth is that, and I'm not saying this, and my wife probably will see this video many moons later. If I didn't have the person that I had standing beside me, and I'm being honest, I would probably be at a VA clinic calling you saying, hey, Starsky, can you put some money in my books? That is the truth. I needed somebody that was stronger than me at that moment when I got out to figure life out. I mean, yeah, I did all the, well, this your podcast, so it ain't mine, so I ain't gonna worry about it. I'm saying everything that's all against the grain. So this is, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was, my plan to get out was I was gonna play, black men in society. I was gonna play they all against me. I was trying to use any scheme, scam, whatever it was to try to get out of it. But the thing was my wife didn't let me do it. My wife was like, no, your ass wake up. You need to fucking put boots to task and get shit done. That's exactly what it was. But I ain't gonna lie, I won't go act like woe is me. I won't go act like the Black Lives Matter crew. I ain't gonna act like I wasn't gonna try to pull it off. Before Black Lives Matter was cool, that's what I was gonna do. And then it was somebody to put a foot in my ass to say, get your ass together. That's what it was.
I'll agree. Sometimes the best investment is the person that invests in you.
And that's what she did.
What's the worst investment you ever made?
The worst investment made was all those get rich quick schemes. And when I said that earlier, people didn't. I mean, I didn't invest it. If you want to just talk about stock market, I'd invested in Sponge Tech. I put like $30,000 in a sponge that didn't go nowhere. But the worst investments I ever made, I tried to create a business on a credit card company, but I was using a credit card to create the business. The business was shot no matter what. So I've tried everything. And when I tried all the get rich quick schemes, I tried all those, and none of them didn't make it. None of them didn't make it. So I've had a lot of bad investments. But the thing is, if you have 10 investments total, you only need 3 to shoot to the moon to make it. You don't need all 10 of them. And then that's why I started, and this is what I started doing. I started doing more research. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do more research and be very selective. And then when I invest and they take off, I have so much money and it's so concentrated that it will do it. I mean, like SMCI, I don't know if you've seen it today. It went up 10%. The newest one I'm in is OSCR OSCR. That one right now I'm a little bit underwater. But then SoFi, I bought that at 6. I bought tens of thousands of shares in that, and then now it's at $20 a share. So 6, 12, 18. That's up 400%. That's just what it is. So yeah, so that's just what it is. I mean, but I'd have made some terrible. I mean, when I say terrible, everything I did before I knew what the hell I was doing, that all of it was terrible. Anything I did, playing poker, terrible investment. Going to casino, terrible investment. Yeah, all that stuff, terrible investment. So all of them was bad. I done lost a lot of money. Trying to be cool. Now I just low key in the house and I just do my thing. That's just how I am.
Nice. No, I got you. So now it's the time of the podcast. We're gonna do rapid fire questions. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So come what comes to mind. So most underrated leadership trait.
Empathy.
One book or mentor that changed how you led.
How I led. You tricked me right there. I was about to say something else. How I led. And I haven't changed. And this is gonna be crazy. The book of Starsky Smith. That is how I led. The book of Starsky Smith. And it's still to this day. Now I deal with property managers, and I'm sorry, I'm I know it's rapid fire, but I deal with people in all areas. I still use that same method today. I never changed.
I gotta write that book, man, so you can buy it.
Yeah. I was about to show you another book, but that wasn't it.
Oh, I know. What's something you wish more people understood about military veterans in the workplace?
They'll get the job done if you just give them a task and a direction to do it.
I think that there's a lot of vets that are out probably underperforming their skill set.
Absolutely.
That should really be in leadership positions across all of corporate America or whatever.
100%.
Whiskey besides Blanton's, which I paid for, by the way. What is your favorite whiskey other than Blanton's when you're when you're off? What's your drink of choice?
Well, my drink of choice is Maker's Mark. My Maker's Mark, all brands. I love that. I love that 46, the 46 Maker's Mark. That's my everyday off the clock. I always pour a glass literally every night. So that's my go to. But yeah, Blanton's, and the thing is, in Florida, they think that it's a black market on Blanton's. Blanton's in Florida, depending on where you go, is maybe $200-$300 a bottle. Yeah. So what I do is all my military army buddies look at look at. Yeah, I still got the price
I'm
tag on
looking at
this
my
one.
CFO over there. I'm like, how much did we pay for this? Like, I don't know if you know this, but I don't make anything off this podcast, so this is a bad investment at this point.
I seen that. I seen the tag. But that's the thing. So I have like people that I contracted with, people that I was in the military with. When they come across a bottle, they send me a bottle or whatever, and I just pay them for it. And that's what it is. But Florida, no, they. If you see it in a store, it's $150, $200. I've seen places $300 a bottle in Florida.
That's crazy. What's a quote or mantra that you live by?
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
All right. So in parting words, what are your final thoughts for our guest? What would be some advice that you would give them in leadership, in finances, whatever?
All right. On the leadership side, I would say be you. And you cannot lead from a textbook. What I mean by lead by a textbook, you can't read how to be a leader. You cannot tell people to go into the fire if you're not willing to go into the fire, or if you haven't been into the fire. When it comes to, so you have to be able to articulate and do, or be able to do everything that you want to lead somebody to do. As far as leadership, when it comes to finance, and this is something that it took me a while to understand and learn, because everybody, you watch the financial channels, when you watch all the things that they say the word diversify when it comes to finance. Diversify is for once you have the wealth. It's not for when you're trying to get wealthy. You need to concentrate and put all of your eggs in one basket to get there. And then once you get there, then you need to diversify to keep it. But you will never get wealthy by diversifying at the ground level and thinking that it's going to go up. You have to do singular focus, one thing. So what I mean by that, if your game is stocks and then you do your research and you put all your money in Google, you need to put all your money there. And then once it grows up to, let's say, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, then you need to diversify to real estate, to bonds, to other different stocks, to ETFs or whatever, or bonds. How wealth is created. It's not, hey, spreading your money across a little bit of money across a whole bunch of spaces and think that it's going to grow to make a lot of money. That is where the media, and that's where these financial bankers, and that's where all these financial advisors screw y'all and take a lot of money from y'all.
No, I will agree. I've watched your podcast many times, and your advice, and to say that it's not polished is an understatement. You're definitely giving the gritty side of the finance culture and the investment culture, and just investing in general in a way that common person can understand. I think that that's what I truly appreciate about your podcast, and what you do is you give back in that servant leadership of giving that free information out to people for them to digest and learn, so that they aren't just a cog in a wheel, or they're just repeating what their mother and father and grandfather did, and try to help people get out of that rut and build generational wealth. So I thank you, Kirby, also known as Damien, because I never use your first name.
Right. I love it.
We didn't know each other like that. So, hey, brother, I thank you for coming on the podcast. I thank you for spending time with me and my guest. Hopefully, I wish you and your family the greatest and prosperity and stuff like that. With that, Wisdom and Whiskeys fans out there, Damien Kirby.
Oh, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you a lot.
Kirby, I always say, leadership is distilled, wisdom is shared, and stories are worth savoring. And today, you poured it all out. From serving together in uniform to sharing this conversation, this one means a lot. Your insight, your humanity, your mission-first mindset, they translate across every stage of life. Blanton's was the perfect pairing. Distinct, grounded, and a little legendary. Thank you for showing up, for leading, and proving that great leadership isn't just learned, it's lived. Until next time, cheers.